The massive alien ships appeared in Earth's sky like dark clouds blocking out the sun. Admiral Velthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screens. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he remembered the golden records his people had found drifting through space decades ago. "Another easy conquest," he said to his second-in-command. "These humans even sent us directions to their world and showed us their gold. They want to be found." The Zephyrian Empire had conquered over 400 worlds using the same simple plan. Arrive with overwhelming force, demand all the gold except surrender, move on to the next planet. It had worked perfectly for 3 centuries. Velthak expected Earth to be no different from all the others. On Earth, former Marine Colonel Kim Tae-ho was having the worst day of his life. He stared at the radar screens in the underground command center, watching 47 massive objects that had appeared from nowhere. Each alien ship was bigger than the largest aircraft carrier ever built by humans. "Sir, they're not responding to any communication attempts," reported Lieutenant Park Min-ho, his voice shaking slightly. "And these readings, their energy signatures, are off the charts." Dr. Lee So-ra rushed into the command center, her tablet filled with calculations that made no sense. As Earth's leading expert on electromagnetic signals, she had been tracking unusual patterns for weeks. Now she knew what they meant. "Colonel Kim, those ships have been watching us," she said breathlessly. "I found their scanning signals buried in our satellite data. They've been studying Earth for months, maybe years." Tae-ho felt his stomach drop. "What do they want?" "I don't know, but they're positioned in perfect attack formation. This isn't a peaceful visit." Around the world, other military leaders were reaching the same terrifying conclusion. In Moscow, General Petrov watched the alien ships through his telescopes. In Washington, Admiral Johnson tried desperately to contact the president. In Beijing, Commander Wang ordered all submarines to dive deep and wait for orders. But the aliens struck first. A beam of pure energy lanced down from the lead ship, striking an abandoned military base in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The entire island vanished in a flash of light that could be seen from space. The message was clear: surrender or face destruction. Then came the voice. Every radio, television, phone, and computer on Earth suddenly crackled to life with the same alien transmission. The voice was cold and mechanical, struggling with human languages through some kind of translation device. "Primitive beings of the third planet," Admiral Velthak's words echoed across 7 billion people. "We are the Zephyrian Empire. We have come for your gold. Gather all gold from your world and present it to us. Do this and your species will be allowed to live as our servants. Refuse, and your world will burn." The transmission ended with images of other conquered worlds, cities in ruins, populations fleeing, entire civilizations reduced to slavery. The aliens wanted every human to see what happened to those who resisted. Colonel Kim Tae-ho looked around the command center at the faces of his staff. Fear was there, certainly, but also something else. Anger, determination, the same look he had seen on the faces of Marines before they charged into impossible odds. "Get me every military commander on the planet," he said quietly. "Every Navy, every Air Force, every Army. I don't care if their countries are enemies, we're all humans now." Dr. Lee So-ra was already working, her fingers flying over her computer keyboard. "Colonel, I'm analyzing the energy beam they used. It took 12 seconds to charge and fire. The power drain must be enormous." "That's useful. What else?" "Their ships are maintaining position in high orbit. If they wanted to destroy us completely, they would have already done it. They need something from us alive." Lieutenant Park Min-ho looked up from his communications console. "Sir, we're getting responses from military units worldwide. Everyone wants to coordinate a response." This surprised Tae-ho. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth was ready to work together. The alien threat had done what centuries of diplomacy could not: unite humanity against a common enemy. Admiral Velthak watched Earth's response with growing confusion. His invasion fleet had destroyed one target and delivered their ultimatum. By now, the primitive humans should be panicking, fighting among themselves or desperately trying to gather gold to save their lives. Instead, their communication networks had exploded with activity. Radio signals crisscrossed the planet as military forces shared information. Instead of chaos, the humans were becoming more organized by the hour. Perhaps they need another demonstration, Velthak decided. He ordered the destruction of an uninhabited island near Japan. The energy beam turned rock and sand into steam in seconds. Still, the humans did not surrender. "Commander," his second-in-command reported, "the humans are moving their military assets, ships, planes, ground forces. They're all relocating to new positions." "Where?" "Everywhere, sir. It appears they're scattering their forces rather than concentrating them." Velthak frowned. This was not how conquests were supposed to work. Primitive species either surrendered immediately or gathered their forces for one futile battle. They did not spread out and coordinate. They certainly did not become more organized under pressure. "Send down landing forces to their major cities," he ordered. "Once they see our soldiers, they will understand the futility of resistance." The first Zephyrian ground forces descended toward Earth, expecting to find cowering populations ready to surrender their gold. Instead, they found empty streets and silent buildings. The humans were waiting. The Zephyrian dropships descended, like falling meteors, their engines screaming as they broke through Earth's atmosphere. Admiral Velthak had chosen the largest human cities for his first landing: New York, London, Tokyo, Seoul, and Moscow. He expected millions of terrified humans to flood the streets begging for mercy. Instead, the cities were empty. Captain Zorvek led the first landing team in Seoul, his heavy boots echoing through deserted streets. His squad of 20 Zephyrian warriors moved carefully between abandoned cars and silent buildings. Their sensors showed no life signs, but something felt wrong. "Where are they?" muttered Sergeant Velmon, his weapon ready. The scans showed 8 million humans in this area yesterday. Underground, Captain Yoon Da-hai watched the alien soldiers through hidden cameras placed throughout the subway tunnels. She commanded 300 South Korean special forces, all hidden in the maze of passages beneath Seoul. Every entrance and exit was covered. Every movement was being recorded. "They walk like they own the place," she whispered into her radio. "Let them get comfortable first." Colonel Kim Tae-ho sat in his command bunker, watching similar scenes play out across the globe. The aliens had landed exactly where human military leaders expected them to. Every major city had been quietly evacuated over the past 3 days, while resistance fighters took positions in subway systems, sewers, and underground parking garages. "Phase 1 is working," reported Lieutenant Park Min-ho. "All alien ground. Forces are in urban areas, no civilian casualties so far." Dr. Lee Sora looked up from her computer screens, excitement in her voice. "Colonel, I've been analyzing their communication signals. They're using a simple digital encryption. I think I can break it." "How long do you need?" "Give me 2 hours, and I'll be listening to everything they say." In New York, the Zephyrian forces found Wall Street completely abandoned. Coffee shops still had warm coffee in their machines. Computers were still running in office buildings, but not a single human could be found anywhere. Lieutenant Commander Lee Jin-woo watched from his position aboard a cargo ship in New York Harbor. The vessel looked like any other commercial boat, but hidden beneath tarps were weapons salvaged from destroyed military bases. His crew of 60 Navy personnel waited patiently as alien patrol craft flew overhead. "Sir," whispered his communications officer, "the aliens are getting frustrated. Their radio chatter is increasing." "Good. Frustrated. Enemies make mistakes." Back in Seoul, Captain Zorvek was indeed getting frustrated. His orders were simple: secure the city and gather the human population for gold collection. But there were no humans to gather. The streets remained empty except for the occasional stray dog or cat. "Base, this is Landing Team Alpha," he reported to the orbiting ships. "The city appears to be abandoned. Requesting instructions." Admiral Velthak studied the reports coming in from all 5 cities. The same situation everywhere. Empty streets, no resistance, no humans to be found. This had never happened before. In 4 centuries of conquest. "Perhaps they fled to the countryside," suggested his second-in-command. "Should we pursue them?" "No," Velthak decided. "They cannot hide forever. We will occupy their cities and wait. Eventually, they must return for food and supplies. But the humans had no intention of returning. They had been preparing for 3 days. Captain Yoon Dahae gave the signal at exactly noon Seoul time. Around the world, similar signals went out in 4 other cities. The empty streets suddenly came alive, but not with fleeing civilians. Manholes opened and armed humans poured out. Subway entrances became firing positions. Storm drains became ambush points. The cities that had seemed abandoned revealed themselves to be elaborate traps. Captain Zorvek spun around as explosions echoed through the Seoul streets. His squad was suddenly taking fire from windows, rooftops, and doorways. These weren't panicked civilians. They were trained soldiers using military tactics. "Base, we are under attack," he shouted into his radio. The humans were hiding. They're everywhere. The Zephyrian soldiers had superior weapons and armor, but they were designed for open battle, not urban warfare. Their heavy equipment moved slowly through narrow streets. Their energy weapons, powerful enough to destroy tanks, seemed wasteful against small groups of humans who appeared, fired, and disappeared again. Dr. Lee Sora broke the alien encryption code in less than 2 hours. Now she could hear their confused radio chatter as they tried to understand what was happening. "Colonel," she called to Taeho, "they're calling for air support. But listen to this. Their pilots are afraid to fire heavy weapons in the cities because they might hit their own ground troops." "Excellent. What else are they saying?" "They keep asking their commanders how humans could have evacuated 5 major cities without them noticing. They thought we were primitive." Lieutenant Commander Lee Jinwoo received his orders at 1400 hours. Around the world, hidden naval forces began to move. In New York Harbor, his disguised cargo ship shed its cover and revealed missile launchers. Similar ships appeared in London's Thames, Tokyo Bay, and ports near Moscow. The Zephyrian patrol craft that had been lazily circling above the cities suddenly found themselves under attack from below. Human missiles, primitive but effective, streaked upward from concealed positions. Admiral Velthak watched his tactical display in growing alarm. Red warning symbols appeared across all 5 landing zones. His ground forces were trapped in urban combat against an enemy that refused to fight fairly. His air support was being harassed by surface-to-air missiles. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "we're taking casualties. The humans are using weapons we've never seen before." "Impossible. Our intelligence showed they had only primitive firearms. They appear to have been hiding their true capabilities, sir." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Velthak felt uncertainty. The humans were supposed to be simple creatures motivated by fear and greed. Instead, they were displaying coordination, planning, and tactical thinking that impressed even veteran Zephyrian officers. "Recall all ground forces to defensive positions," he ordered. "We need to reassess our enemy." But it was already too late. The humans had drawn first blood and they were just getting started. Captain Yoon Dahae crawled through the abandoned subway tunnel beneath Seoul, her team of 12 soldiers following silently behind her. They carried backpacks filled with homemade explosives, fertilizer bombs mixed with alien power cells they had salvaged from crashed patrol craft. The combination was unstable and dangerous, but it worked. "Target is 200 meters ahead," whispered Sergeant Kim Ho-jin, checking his tablet. Above them, a Zephyrian command post had been set up in the old city hall. The aliens thought they were safe on the surface while humans hid underground like frightened animals. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Dr. Lee So-ra sat in her hidden laboratory beneath the streets of Busan, surrounded by pieces of captured alien technology. For 2 weeks she had been taking apart Zephyrian weapons, communication devices, and armor pieces brought to her by resistance fighters from across South Korea. "Colonel Kim," she called excitedly into her radio, "I found something important. Their personal shields, the ones that protect individual soldiers, they all operate on the same frequency." "What does that mean?" came Taeho's voice through the static. "If I can generate enough interference on that frequency, their shields will fail. All of them at once." Colonel Kim Taeho stood in his command bunker, looking at reports from around the world. The news was mixed. Human forces were inflicting casualties on the aliens, but the cost was high. For every Zephyrian soldier killed, humans lost 10 fighters. Their weapons were simply too advanced, their armor too strong. But humans had something the aliens didn't understand: the ability to learn and adapt faster than any computer could calculate. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Park Min-ho, "we're getting interesting intelligence from our people in the field. The aliens follow very strict battle patterns. They never deviate from their standard tactics." "Explain." "When they take fire from a building, they always respond the same way. Energy beam to the 3rd floor, then ground troops through the front entrance. Every single time." Taeho smiled grimly. "So they're predictable." "Very predictable, sir, indeed." Tokyo, Lieutenant Commander Lee Jin-woo had turned the city's extensive subway system into a weapon. His naval engineers had flooded certain tunnels with flammable gas, turning underground passages into massive pipe bombs. When Zephyrian patrols entered the subway to hunt for humans, they found much more than they expected. The explosion shook the entire district. 3 city blocks collapsed into the subway tunnels below, taking a full company of alien soldiers with them. The humans had sacrificed part of their own city to eliminate the enemy. Admiral Velthak received the casualty. Report with disbelief. In 3 weeks of fighting, his forces had lost more soldiers than in the previous 50 conquests combined. These humans fought with a desperation and creativity that defied all military logic. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we've identified the problem. The humans don't follow standard military doctrine. They fight more like wild animals defending their territory." "Explain." "Normal species surrender when facing superior firepower, or they mass their forces for one decisive battle. The humans do neither. They spread out, they hide, they attack from unexpected directions, and they seem willing to sacrifice anything to inflict casualties on us." Velthak studied the tactical displays showing human resistance across the globe. Red markers indicated active fighting in over 300 locations. The humans had turned their entire planet into a battlefield. Captain Yoon Da-hai's explosive device detonated exactly as planned. The Seoul City Hall collapsed, burying the Zephyrian command post under tons of concrete and steel. But instead of retreating, her team immediately moved to their next target: a alien communication relay, 2 kilometers away. "How many more targets on our list?" asked Sergeant Kim Ho-jin as they ran through the subway tunnels. 17 in this sector alone," Da-hai replied. "And when we finish those, intelligence will have 17 more ready for us." This was the human approach that puzzled the aliens most. Instead of trying to win a single decisive battle, humans fought hundreds of small engagements simultaneously. Every destroyed alien position was immediately replaced by attacks on 2 more locations. Dr. Lee So-ra made her breakthrough on day 21 of the invasion. Working with salvaged alien technology and human radio equipment, she created a device that could disrupt Zephyrian personal shields across an entire city block. "The frequency is 847.3 megahertz, she explained to Colonel Taeho over their encrypted radio link. "If we can coordinate every radio station, every cell phone tower, every communication device in a city to broadcast on that frequency simultaneously, their shields fail," Taeho finished. "How long do we need to maintain the signal?" 30 seconds should overload their systems completely, but the timing has to be perfect across the entire planet. Can you do it? Give me 12 hours to set up the network. Then we'll find out if humans are as good at coordination as aliens think we are." Lieutenant Commander Lee Jin-woo received the strangest order of his military career: coordinate with every communication device in New York City for a simultaneous 30-second broadcast. Radio stations, television networks, emergency services, even civilian cell phones would all transmit the same signal at exactly the same moment. "Sir," his communications officer asked, "what happens if this doesn't work?" "Then we keep fighting the hard way," Jin-woo replied. "But if it does work, we just gave ourselves the first real advantage we've had since this war started." Around the world, similar preparations were taking place. Scientists, soldiers, and civilians worked together to create the largest coordinated communication event in human history. Admiral Velthak noticed the increased human radio chatter but dismissed it as desperation. His species had never encountered an enemy that could organize such complex operations while under attack. He assumed the humans were simply becoming more panicked as their situation grew hopeless. He was about to learn that assumptions could be fatal in war. Admiral Velthak stared at the holographic display showing his fleet's casualty reports. The numbers made no sense. In 400 years of conquest, the Zephyrian Empire had never lost more than a handful of ships taking an entire world. Earth had already cost him 12 vessels, and the humans showed no signs of surrendering. "Sir," his second-in-command reported nervously. "High Command is asking for an explanation. They want to know why we requested reinforcements for a primitive planet." Velthak's four eyes narrowed. The arrival of 30 additional ships had been necessary, but it was also humiliating. No Zephyrian admiral had ever needed help conquering a single world. "Tell them the humans are more resourceful than our intelligence suggested." On Earth, Colonel Kim Tae-ho watched the new alien ships arrive through his underground command center's periscope. The enemy fleet had nearly doubled in size, but something had changed in the past month of fighting. His forces were no longer the desperate, scattered resistance they had been at the start. "Dr. Lee, is your frequency weapon ready?" he asked. Dr. Lee, Sora nodded, her fingers hovering over a keyboard connected to communication networks across the entire planet. "Every radio station, cell tower, and communication device on Earth is synchronized. When I press this button, we'll either disable every alien shield on the planet, or we'll discover that my calculations were wrong. And if you're wrong, then we keep fighting the way we have been. But Colonel, I don't think I'm wrong." Captain Yoon Da-hai crouched in the ruins of downtown Seoul, her team armed with weapons that would have been impossible a month ago. Human engineers had learned to combine alien power cells with Earth-made explosives, creating hybrid weapons that confused Zephyrian sensors. "Target confirmed," whispered Sergeant Kim Ho-jin, pointing at a Zephyrian patrol moving through the rubble. 6 soldiers, standard formation." "Wait for the signal," Da-hai replied. Around the world, thousands of similar teams waited for the same moment. Lieutenant Commander Lee Jin-woo stood on the bridge of his converted cargo ship, now bristling with a mixture of human missiles and captured alien weapons. His vessel looked like a floating junkyard, but it had already destroyed 3 Zephyrian patrol craft using tactics no military academy had ever taught. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "all teams report ready. We're synchronized with the global network." Jin-woo checked his watch. 30 seconds until broadcast, all weapons ready. Admiral Velthak was reviewing attack plans when the impossible happened. Every screen on his flagship suddenly filled with static. Communication with his fleet cut out completely. Emergency alarms began wailing as system after system reported failures. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Unknown." "Sir, some kind of massive electromagnetic interference. It's affecting every ship in the fleet." On Earth's surface, every Zephyrian soldier suddenly found their personal shields flickering and dying. The coordinated radio pulse that Dr. Lee Sora had designed was overloading alien technology across the entire planet. Captain Yoon Da-hee didn't waste the opportunity. "Now," she shouted. Her team opened fire with their hybrid weapons, cutting down the unprotected Zephyrian patrol in seconds. Similar attacks erupted simultaneously in hundreds of locations around the globe. For 30 seconds, the most advanced military force in the galaxy was defensively helpless. The pulse ended, but the damage was done. Thousands of Zephyrian soldiers lay dead or wounded, their shields permanently damaged by the coordinated attack. More importantly, their confidence was shattered. "Impossible," Admiral Velthak whispered as damage reports flooded in from across his fleet. "How did they coordinate a planet-wide attack while under siege?" His tactical officer's voice shook. "Sir, we've underestimated them completely. They're not primitive at all. This level of coordination requires advanced planning and technology we didn't know they possessed." Colonel Kim Tae-ho smiled as reports came in from around the world. The shield disruption had worked better than anyone had hoped. But more importantly, it had proven something crucial. Humans could work together on a scale that amazed even themselves. "Phase 2 begins now," he announced to his global command network. "All units commence coordinated assault." What followed was unlike anything in the history of warfare. Instead of separate battles fought by individual nations, humanity launched a truly global military operation. Russian submarines surfaced to fire missiles at alien ships while American jets provided air cover. Chinese ground forces coordinated with European special operations teams. Korean naval vessels worked alongside Brazilian destroyers. Lieutenant Commander Lee Jin-woo led a combined fleet of ships from 12 different nations, all armed with weapons that mixed human ingenuity with alien technology. They moved through New York Harbor like a pack of wolves hunting the scattered Zephyrian patrol craft. Target acquired, reported his weapons officer. Alien cruiser, damaged shields, attempting to retreat. Fire everything, Jin-woo ordered. The hybrid weapons struck the alien ship simultaneously. Human explosives combined with Zephyrian power cells created a destruction pattern the enemy had never seen before. The cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash that could be seen from Manhattan. Admiral Velthak watched his orderly fleet formations break apart under the chaotic but effective human assault. His ships, designed for organized space battles, struggled against opponents who attacked from every direction at once. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a message from the humans." Colonel Kim Tae-ho's voice filled the Zephyrian flagship's bridge, speaking in perfect Zephyrian through captured translation equipment. "Admiral Velthak, this is Colonel Kim Tae-ho of the Earth Defense Force. You came here expecting gold. Instead, you found something your empire has never encountered before, a species that values freedom more than life itself. Withdraw your forces now, or we will destroy every ship in your fleet." Velthak stared at the communication display, his confidence finally completely broken. For the first time in Zephyrian history, a primitive species was dictating terms to the Empire. The humans had turned his certain victory into their impossible triumph. The final battle began at dawn above Earth's Pacific Ocean. Admiral Velthak commanded what remained of his once mighty fleet from the bridge of his flagship, watching in disbelief as human vessels rose from the planet's surface to meet him in space. The ships that approached looked like nothing in any military database. Cargo vessels welded together with passenger planes, oil tankers fitted with missile launchers, even a converted cruise ship bristling with weapons that mixed human engineering with captured alien technology. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "the human fleet consists of, I'm not sure what to call them. They appear to be civilian vessels modified for combat." Colonel Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his command ship, a converted container vessel that should never have been able to reach orbit. But human engineers had worked miracles in the past 6 weeks, combining alien anti-gravity technology with Earth-built hulls. "All ships, this is Colonel Kim," he broadcast to the hybrid fleet surrounding him. "Remember, we're not trying to match their firepower. We're trying to outthink them." Captain Yoon Da-hai commanded a boarding team aboard a modified passenger jet that had been fitted with docking clamps and breach charges. Her mission was simple but dangerous: capture the alien flagship alive. "Ready for boarding action," she reported. 30 soldiers armed with hybrid weapons and electromagnetic pulse grenades. Dr. Lee So-ra worked frantically in her mobile laboratory, housed inside a converted food truck that was somehow flying through space alongside warships. Her job was to coordinate the technical aspects of humanity's final gambit. "Colonel Kim," she called over the comm system, "I've identified the flagship's shield frequency. If we can get close enough, I can disrupt their defenses for exactly 45 seconds. "That's all we need," Tae-ho replied. Lieutenant Commander Lee Jin-woo piloted his destroyer through the alien formation, dodging energy beams that could vaporize his ship in seconds. His vessel had been damaged in 3 previous battles, held together with welding and determination. "Sir," his navigator reported, "the aliens are trying to maintain formation. They're not adapting to our scattered attack pattern." "Good. Their discipline is their weakness now." Admiral Velthak watched the human fleet approach with growing confusion. Their ships moved in no recognizable pattern. Some attacked directly while others seemed to retreat, only to circle back from unexpected angles. It was like fighting a swarm rather than a military force. "All ships maintain defensive formation," he ordered. "Focus fire on their largest vessels." But the humans had no largest vessels. Every ship was different. Every attack came from a new direction. and their tactics changed faster than Zephyrian computers could calculate responses. The space battle that followed broke every rule of military engagement. Human ships that should have been destroyed by single hits somehow kept fighting. Alien vessels with superior weapons found themselves overwhelmed by opponents that refused to fight fairly. Captain Yoon Da-hai's boarding craft approached the flagship under cover of a coordinated missile barrage. The converted passenger jet looked ridiculous next to the massive alien warship, but it carried the most dangerous cargo in human history, soldiers who had nothing left to lose. 30 seconds to breach, she announced to her team. Remember, these aliens have never been boarded before. They won't know how to respond. Dr. Lee So-ra activated her shield disruption device as the boarding craft made contact with the flagship's hull. Shields down for 45 seconds starting now. The hull-cutting charges exploded simultaneously at 12 different points around the alien ship. Yoon Da-hai's soldiers poured through the breaches like water through a broken dam, their hybrid weapons devastating the unprepared Zephyrian crew. Admiral Velthak felt his flagship shudder as explosions echoed through the corridors. His bridge displays showed impossible readings. Humans were inside his ship fighting hand-to-hand with his crew in the hallways. How did they get through our shields? He demanded. Unknown, sir. The humans seem to have technology we don't understand. Colonel Kim Tae-ho pressed his attack as the flagship's defenses faltered. Around him, the converted human fleet swarmed over the remaining alien vessels like angry wasps. Ships that had been cargo haulers and passenger ferries just weeks ago were now destroying the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Lee Jin-woo's destroyer delivered the killing blow to an alien cruiser, his hybrid, weapons punching through armor that had been considered impenetrable. As the enemy ship exploded, he couldn't help but smile at the impossible sight. This is Earth Defense Force to all human vessels, he broadcast. The alien fleet is breaking. Apart, press the attack. Captain Yoon Da-hai fought her way to the flagship's bridge, her soldiers clearing each corridor with weapons that combined human determination with alien technology. The Zephyrian crew, trained for space battles, had no experience with boarding actions. She kicked down the bridge door to find Admiral Velthak standing alone, his 4 eyes wide with shock and defeat. Surrender your fleet, she demanded, pointing her hybrid weapon at his chest. For a moment that seemed to last forever, the most powerful military leader in Zephyrian history stared at a human soldier who should never have been able to reach him. Then, slowly, he raised all 4 of his hands in surrender. All ships, he broadcast to his remaining fleet, his voice heavy with the weight of impossible defeat. Cease fire and withdraw. The humans have won. The surviving Zephyrian vessels began their retreat from Earth's solar system, carrying with them news that would shake their empire to its foundations. They had encountered a species that fought not for conquest or resources, but for something the Zephyrians had forgotten existed, the simple right to remain free. As the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, Colonel Kim Tae-ho stood on his bridge and watched Earth grow larger in his viewport. The planet looked exactly the same as when he had left it, but everything had changed. Humanity had announced to the galaxy that Earth would never bow to any master, no matter how powerful they claimed to be.